Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day you happen to be listening or watching. Welcome to Drewling Samantics. Currently, it is just me. Mr. Fettis, are you there? Are you hiding? Are you missing? Or are you merely a ghost on the wire? Where is he?
I'm here. That was, mate. Thank you so much for that little plug of my my new play. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Yes, Ghost on the Wire. Very apt.
Well, yeah. How are you, mate? All right. Very busy, I take it.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Yeah, I'm very, very well. We opened a few days ago, so busy on that this week. That's been taking up pretty much all my time.
Well, I'm not surprised. And opening performances have gone really well.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we've had some nice houses, some good responses. These are the previews. We've got a press night coming up in a few days' time. And then we're full on for 2 weeks. So, but these have been great. It's very rarely, I have to say, do you get previews in Fringe? So we have been treating these 3 or 4 shows as a preview and really working the show in. It's quite technical because we're using a lot of back projection. So, the technical team have been sort of not tearing their hair out, but sort of scratching their heads on occasions, and the actors have been standing there going, "You just light it and make us look pretty. We'll be fine," But that's been my week.
Let's face it; they've got quite a job trying to make you pretty. Anyway,
mate, I can only agree on that. But talking of being pretty and being made to look pretty, you've been doing. I don't mean this in this way, but you've had a busy week because you've been back on the modelling gigs again, haven't you, mate?
I have, yes. So I'm very fortunate that I previously worked with a bespoke jewellery company, amazing company called Treasure Bay. Check them out. And they make all kinds of silver jewellery, and they also do things like pearls and gemstones and things like that. And I worked for them before doing some promotional campaign work and modelling some of the pieces. And they got in contact and brought me back in to basically do their entire men's collection. So my mug or part of my face, my neck, my wrists, whatever bit it happens to be, will be going online very soon to model all their male silver jewelry and various other things as well. So, but it's been a long old process. I couldn't tell you exactly, but I think well over 1,000 different pieces I've had to model over a couple of days, and got some more of that coming up as well. So it's been really good fun. They're a lovely team. Really enjoy working with them. So yeah, that's been taking up a lot of my time, but then various other things alongside that, a bit of filming, a bit of voiceover work, the usual self-tapes and applications and the things that we keep doing because we like to eat and have a roof over our heads, mate.
Very true, mate.
Yeah, so it's been good. It's been very good, and obviously we had Terry and Terry on last week. Had an amazing time chatting to them. So if you're currently listening to us now and you haven't listened to that previous episode, what are you doing? Go and have a listen. They were quite the energetic pair, I think we can say, Drew.
I think energetic is putting it mildly, Sam. But no, it was a great episode, and as you say, if anyone hasn't, do listen to it because it'll certainly brighten your day.
Yeah, I think my feet haven't really touched the ground since then. I've been doing so much, and what you've been doing dwarfs what I've been doing, so it's been a bit mental. But in that time, have you managed to do the obligatory check on the stage? Have you got any industry news for us, Mr.
I have actually checked around. I've been online, had a look at the stage and various bits and pieces that have been happening. We have one of our it's always a big bit of news when one of our premier companies, the national, or in this case the RSC, have a new appointees. And the RSC have indeed appointed their new joint artistic directors, Tamara Harvey and Daniel Evans, heading up the team. It's quite exciting because I very, very briefly crossed paths with Daniel Evans when I worked in Sheffield. I was at Lyceum, and of course, He's at the Crucible, heading up the Crucible, but runs both those as Sheffield Theatres. I like his work. I think, I don't know if the RSC has sort of bobbled along or whatever, but it has a reputation around the world, and it sometimes can be accused of being a little staid or not risking or not actually just earning its keep. And I think Daniel, as artistic director, he's a brilliant director. He's a fantastic lover of theatre, a fantastic theatre person, but also he has an eye on the commercial world as well. He's not stupid. He understands that theatre has to make money. And if anything is leveled at some of the bigger theatres, it is that they are elitist. Daniel wipes that all away. I saw his production of Oliver when I was there, and it was stunning. And he's an artistic director that is energetic, young, but he also has an eye to the bank balance as well, which is no bad thing in these straitened times. And I think he and Tamara will really drive it forward.
I think
talking of new,
I think it's safe to say that the RSC and the Shakespeare performances can expect a firecracker up the arse. I think it's having had a few years where it's been tough through no one's fault, and things have had to, shall we say, exist and get by rather than kind of, I don't know, we've been taking less risks in order to build back up. But I think we're now in a position where things can start to go that direction again, and I can certainly see these two injecting some new feelings and some new ideas into the RSC.
Yeah, I think you're right, Sam. I think it does need a now we've sort of settled back and everyone's working, but I think they'll really sort of pump some energy into the place. I think it's it's going to be. I think it'll be exciting to watch what they do.
Yeah,
really exciting. Talking about exciting, for the first time since 2019, the stage debut awards were held, and there were lots of great talent there, lots of winners. But I picked out, because there was a couple of winners who just had some really nice quotes about, since they won the award, or since people have won the award previously, commented about how it changes. And we often say, how does an award help or whatever, or what thoughts do you keep in your mind to get to where they are. And Elizabeth Gunawan, who was won an award for the best performer in a play, she had a lovely thing to say, which is like, surround yourself, and I'm reading my notes here, surround yourself with the right people that keep you honest and your work vigorous. And I think that's really nice, because when you're struggling, you can get pulled in lots of different, we're starting out and struggling to find a way. You can get pulled in lots of different directions and sometimes make the wrong decisions. And I speak from personal experience that I made some wrong decisions and maybe trusted the wrong people in the past, and got, a bad agent or a bad, director or something like that has happened. And I think that's a really nice thing to say, surround yourself with the right people. I think that's a really excellent piece of advice. And someone else said, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't want to work, which you've got to think about, but actually
that one took a little bit of calculating. The gears were turning, but no,
it's like, you can't beat hard work. And I think for all of us, and people that have listened to Drewling Samantics, over the last 18 and or so months, they'll realize that everybody that we've spoken to, our guests, and indeed, ourselves, you cannot beat hard work. Sometimes you just got to put your nose to the grindstone and go for it. And the other one is a lovely guy, lovely actor called Dara Hand. He said, your individuality is your strength, which I read as, be true to yourself, And I think there's the three little things that came out of that.
It's nice. I find that last one particularly interesting, because it's almost ironic in its tone that, like, you are an individual and you want to stand out for that reason, but essentially what we do is pretend not to be ourselves. So there's an interesting sort of blend in there, isn't there? Like, yes, you can still be an individual in your performance and you can still put your own swing on things, but by being true to yourself, you don't want to end up typecast, and you don't want to end up as, well, that's just you. So an interesting one, but I get the premise there. I understand that.
But a good bit of news, because we're all sort of in the middle of the energy crisis and new government, etc., etc. They have promised to halve the expected energy price levels for theatres for 6 months. Excellent. Which is important, given the time of year that we're heading into.
Yeah.
And also, again, we referred to it a moment ago. We are picking back up again, and I think it's very encouraging that the government has gone, okay, we do need to help you. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that signals a change in attitude towards the theatre in general. Let's hope.
Well, let's hope that, yes, it's still unofficially the same government, but there are lots of new people and lots of new positions. Perhaps they will be a bit more supportive of the arts, and we won't be quite such a forgotten entity. We can, but keep everything crossed. So only time will tell, but right now, hopefully, this is the beginning of the right the right direction. Yeah,
I'm keeping my fingers crossed for just that. Yeah. I'm looking down at the moment because I'm just looking at my notes, because there's one thing this week to a favorite actor of mine, a favorite actor of a lot of people, well-beloved actor, Brian Glover, who was a fantastic character actor, wrestler, raconteur, comedian. Wow. He just about covered everything. And he has a blue plaque. He's been given a blue plaque. And I can think of no one else. It always makes me smile because as I drive up in Ealing, and there's a house in Ealing that Sid James used to have. And there, yes. I always look over and see the blue plaque to Sid James. And I think, I love those. And the actors, and particularly someone like Brian Glover, who anybody has seen the movie Cares, which is kind of my generation. And remember his sports master is games teacher, playing football in the pouring rain, and the kids are covered in mud, and he's just elbowing them through as he's dribbling the ball through. Possibly one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time, but it epitomized his wit and cleverness. And that's, Brian Glover got a blue plaque.
Amazing. It's always lovely when you spot. So we obviously went to, months ago, we went to the Waterside Theatre in Aylesbury. And there's a statue of Ronnie Barker, I think, isn't it? That's just outside the theatre.
Yes. Yes.
And also there's one in the centre of Aylesbury, just of David Bowie. And it's always nice to see these things that perhaps they're just, you don't expect to see them, but the recognition of people that we've sort of have changed the industry or have just been massive people within it. It's just nice to see that recognition. And a man very deserving of his blue plaque. Lovely to hear.
Absolutely. And the last little bit of I thought this is really interesting. I mean, it's probably going to be an amazing production. But we are always talking about, multidisciplines, crossing genres, music, theatre, the arts, films. Now, a director called Hideki Noda, I hope I pronounced his name almost correctly. He is bringing his production of Romeo and Juliet to Sadler's Wells.
Excellent.
It is kabuki theatre, so it's a Japanese Romeo and Juliet kabuki style, but it's also played to the soundtrack of Queen soundtrack, the music of Queen.
Right, hang on.
So I think that it's a brilliant. I mean,
version of Romeo
kabuki version of Romeo and Juliet. Okay, there have been many kabuki versions of Shakespeare plays.
Of course. I mean, do we know if it's modern English, Shakespearean English, Japanese? Do we know?
It will be there. It will be in the style of kabuki, so there is very little language.
Well, yes, absolutely, but
very little.
Interjected bits, what style they're being, but we'll soon find out. But to add to it, the music is all Queen.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, most kabuki is played against just music. There's very, 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 very little dialogue, if any. But the idea of playing Queen as the music, as opposed to traditional Japanese music, to traditional Japanese kabuki music, I think it's going to be amazing. I that's one of those things you look through, and I was reading about the shows that are opening, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, that's one that that's worth a night out. So Yeah, if anybody goes to see it, I mean, I you know, I might try and get to see that, but if I can't, and people do, and if we got anybody who wants to tell us what it was like and how they enjoyed it, please let us know, because I think it's going to be a stunning show.
Incredible! What a combination!
Yeah.
But, well, thank you for the ever entertaining recap of the industry from the mouth of Mr. Fettis. And I tell you what, we love a segue on Drewling Samantics.
Of course we do.
I've spotted one.
Go on.
It is tenuous. I'm well aware. But
aren't they always?
Well, yeah, particularly when they're from me. But you talk of this incredible piece of theatre coming up, set to the music of Queen. Well, at the beginning of this week, we had the incredible event spectacle that was the Queen's funeral. There you go. There's my link. I mean, it's awful, but it's got me onto something that obviously needs to be mentioned.
Yes, of course.
There are people out there who are not fans of the royals. There are people out there who know nothing about them. There are people out there who follow them religiously. However you want to look at it, what cannot be denied is what an incredible spectacle it was. I mean,
absolutely.
An event that went on for 8, 10, 12 hours, whatever it was, just continually. And the organization and the professionalism and how polished and how intimately arranged and just perfectly delivered it was incredible. However you want to look at it, as an entity, it was phenomenal. And it got me thinking that actually the organization behind that, the people behind that, the people that have planned it, the people that have made sure that certain things were in place, looked at timings and routes and people involved and the numbers and equally the camera teams behind it. I mean, I watched a lot of it, and I don't think at any point I saw someone holding a camera. Yet the entire thing was filmed from so many different angles. It was incredibly well done. And it got me thinking about events, because some people may be aware, in fact, lots of people may be aware, we've just had Goodwood. The Goodwood Revival, I think.
Revival,
I always get mixed up. It was Revival, not Festival of Speed. I mean, there are various different things held at Goodwood, but the Revival is particularly big because obviously it sets things back in time to certain periods. And I don't know if you've ever been, but I've wandered around Goodwood a few times for certain events, and essentially you have things happening, scenes happening, people in certain scenarios, the majority of whom are either full-time actors or performers that like to do this as a side thing or whatever. But the orchestration behind that is equally impressive. I mean, obviously the Queen's funeral or any kind of royal funeral, they get planned years in advance.
Years ahead,
in place. And let's face it, she lived to a ripe old age, so they were probably, these things were in place sort of 10, 15, 20, possibly even longer years ago. But things like Goodwood, they have to sort of refresh once they've done a year. They go, right, now let's start the planning for the next thing. And I just thought it's an extra level to what we do. I mean, right now you're in the middle of a play which has had a period of, it was written, then lighting was designed, then sound was designed, then rehearsals came in, casting. There are so many different stages to it. So there is a lot of planning that goes on. But once you hit that point where it's done or where it's created or where you finish rehearsals, at that point, to an extent, it sort of levels out. There's a plateau because you've got that piece, and I'm not just referring obviously to your play, I mean theatre in general. In a static theatre, or even touring to an extent, once it's created and you have that piece, that production, you pick it up and sort of put it into place, and then it runs on a level. And yes, every performance will be slightly different because we are human, and there's the facility for error. There's also audiences can somehow be different at certain times, and you might have slight changes. But essentially, you get the same product. What you deliver or what a performer delivers is basically the same every night. These big events, things like Goodwood, or I, for example, was involved in a couple of productions for a company called the Mad Hatter's Charity Tea Party, which was very much based on Alice in Wonderland, was a very big immersive. They were kind of like fairs of fates where you had lots of different stalls and things going on. But during that, it was almost narrated. I played the Mad Hatter and narrated the thing, and there were skits that happened, little sections of performance. But those performers, myself included, and the group of performers, at no point are you sort of off duty. I guess
Yes.
it's a bit like Disney, but Disney, they have, again, a routine. Whereas these big events like Goodwood, like Mad Hatters, they sort of take on a level where anything can happen. Yes, you've got your basis, but outside of that, the interaction with the guests, the constant things going on, and things like timing. So let's say you've got a display of certain cars on at a certain point in Goodwood, and then you've got a fly past perhaps by the RAF or something. All these things come in together, and yet you've got to organise performers around that. You've got to organise the space. It just made me think, it's kind of next level. And that's not taken away from any West End production or any play or things like that. But these things sort of do jump it up a bit. And actually, you're a good person to talk to about this, because albeit you're in a play at the moment, and you've got to the point where the rehearsals are finished, you're into your performances. Yes, there will be slight growth throughout, but essentially you've got that product there ready to go. It will continue. At the same time, you're planning a couple of events for the end of the year. So you've got Halloween coming up, and you've got Christmas, which very much sit more towards the event side rather than performance side. How for you is that sort of doing the organisation as well?
Well, it's interesting because, like you say, a play is one thing. You build it, excuse me, you build it, you create it, and it happens, and it's just one entity. What we find, and what I've found with events in the past, is that, like you say, there are many different things that, or it literally is juggling. You've got, when we did the Halloween last year, we had 4 or 5 characters, our scarecrows, our wacky wizards. You've got your pumpkin carving that happens, a crowd for that, and then they may go on and do the next part, which was a trail, a haunted trail. They went and did that, or they'll skip the pumpkin carving, go into the haunted trail. So you're looking, going, okay, you've got that group of people going in there, but that group of people have got to be accommodated because they bought those 2 tickets. So it very much is, you can't rest, as you said, and it is moving. It's managing people, but also you've got to have performers, and you've got to have what that is going to happen. Your events, each different compartment, that can either stand alone, or it can join and be A, B, C, D down the line. You've got to know that you can move the people in and out of those. At Christmas, our grotto will be running, and you've got 3 sections to each. So you've got to get the people in. They've got a queue. They've got to take their ticket. They go in the first room. They meet an elf in there. They have activities there. They go through to the next one, and then they go through to meet Santa and Mrs. Claus. In the meantime, you move your next group of people in, and they start at that first section again.
Yeah.
So the middle room becomes a buffer room. At some point, nothing is happening because you're moving 2 lots of people. Now we're doing that, but we're also doing that twice because we got another Santa running at the same time. So don't tell the kids. But so you've got
spoiler alerts going on all
exactly. Yeah, spoiler alert. But what it does mean, it means also we can safely move people around. We can keep a watch eye on the COVID situation. I think it is leveling out now. We haven't mentioned it for ages, but there are still things that we think, if people do still feel uncomfortable, this is a way of doing it that they can feel more comfortable, less people. It moves quickly, distancing, social distancing and everything can be managed to a degree where people feel comfortable. But they've got an outside event as well, where people come out, they have their photographs taken with, they've got a wishing well, they've got Rudolph in his costume, etc. So you've got all those. Yeah. You've also got to then go, okay, we've got about 8 performers that have got to have breaks. They've got to be able to get to lose. They've got to be able to eat, and then to keep up the volume of people, because we could have up to 12,000 visitors over the 20 odd days.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people, So you got to keep, So yeah, we are mindful of all that, and everything is down to the last second. Really is the last minute. If one thing falls behind, so you've got to be delicate, because you've got to go, okay, After 10 minutes, we got 2 minutes to get these people, finish their activity, get them moved on. Otherwise, it's going to knock everything out. And then by the end of the day, you're 10 minutes out and you've got a whole group of people who are going, well, I am in yet. Yeah, we know. So that's done. I mean, I was once part of a big medieval joust at Kenilworth House. And it was a huge thing. And there was a huge joust, it was horses and knights in armor and and all those fights, all that was run as it would have done, or as near as they could get it to, and that kind of reenactment. But you've got dozens of horses, you've got dozens of stuntmen, all that going on. At the same time, there were food tents and loos and things like that. And then there were all the other activities around it. And all those were on the back of carts, flat back carts.
Yeah.
And I did, we were mummer players, and we did a couple of scenes from Chaucer, 4 stories from Chaucer. And every hour, those trucks moved round one station at the same time.
Wow.
So you had to get 12 different stages doing different activities, different things, all at the same time. From a signal from the king, everything would move. Wow. And when it was stunning, Whoever got that idea and ever put it together was a genius, because it worked really, really well. But extraordinary things to be involved in. I mean, I'm learning as we're putting this together and producing this, and we're getting a little bit bigger each time we do them. But you do sort of, it is ahead, it messes with your head.
Because I think we're fortunate, we've said a lot, and we've even mentioned today that we do have versatility in what we do. And we've kind of seen all the different levels of it. So in musicals and in static theatre and even touring theatre, you have this show, you pick it up, you plop it in. And yes, when you go to a new theatre, the sizings might be slightly different. So the crew and the techies have to then go, right, we need to slightly adjust this. But that's usually a day. And then again, it will run for a week, 2 weeks, a month, however long in that venue, pick it up, do the same again. A residential show will be there for months and months and months. So the first couple of days setting up, and then you kind of, I was going to say you don't have to worry. That's not the case. Obviously, it's constantly maintained, but there aren't significant changes. On completely the other side, we have these immersive or interactive events where they are so venue specific that the planning goes on for a long, long time beforehand to make sure that everything is absolutely to the minute, to the second or whatever, and everything runs smoothly. But equally, there are backups if something does go awry, and you can sort of jump around and make things work. And then in the middle of that, to a point, is the touring work we do with the immersive sort of like dinner events, where yes, the show essentially has the same premise every time. There is a script and we deliver the same show. But we have to adapt it to each venue, but that is a fairly quick adjustment at the start. But then on the flip side, you have a live audience who are interactive and are immersing, or you are immersing them in what you're doing. So that makes a difference every time. So it's almost the 3 sort of stages of it, and looking at the different levels. So we're going to have very different Christmases, obviously, because yes, I'm doing Panto. So yes, I will be performing a show, and it will probably be slightly different every time because of the audience, because of interaction for kids and stuff. But essentially, once it's up on its feet and once that performance is put together and the songs are all in and the dances are all in, it's the same show every time, give or take. Whereas yours, every single person will have an immensely different experience. Every single child comes through, even to the point of talking to Santa. Yes, Santa can have his go-to sort of phrases and things, but each child that he interacts with will say something different. And as we said, children are the most unpredictable. I'd rather work with animals than children, I think, because at least you sort of know what they might do, whereas kids, God knows. But there has to be that sort of freedom and that ability to go, who knows what's coming next, ready for it. Lots of things planned in advance, but at least we know where people are going to be, where they're going to go, and we can manage it that way.
I mean, we have a very tight script. The script, it is all scripted.
Yes, of course.
You know, it also, you know, the elves, because you couldn't do it without a framework. We know how long that works. We know how long it's going to take. But then there are, as you say, there are all those bits you just have to go, and then you just have to go, okay, right, fine. Look at the clock and go, okay, it's all going to be different. We're not going to do the script. It's gone out the window. So we've got 10 minutes of something different to give these people a wonderful experience, because that's what it comes down to.
Of course.
It is all public, is all skewed to the public, but it's the unpredictability. You never know. And if people are late or they don't arrive, then you go, okay, carry on. You can't, it's not a conveyor belt. It's got to be human. It's got to be, but you do have to keep things moving. It's like everything else. You can't dwell too long.
No. Either way, I'm very much looking forward to my Christmas. I'm sure you're very much looking forward to your Christmas as well.
I am.
And just to top it off, I'm very much looking forward to next week, mate, because we've got another visitor.
A guest. We have a guest.
Time flies. It really does. I mean, obviously, we've got the odd interjection where it's just you and I, but they allow us to have maybe a little bit of calm in between the madness that is our guests. As we very much showed last week with Terry and Terry. But no, next week, another fantastic guest is joining us. Another one that's been in the works for a while. Very excited.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say anymore, because why spoil the surprise, really?
I think you're right, mate. I think you're right. So what have you got in the interim? Where will you be and what will you be doing before we have the joy of our guest?
Bit more filming, bit more voiceover, bit more samey, completely different, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So
I do, yeah. Predictable, unpredictable.
Has some familiarities. So whereas I know you are very much cracking on with the play.
Yeah.
So if anyone is around near the Union Theatre, it's on every evening and Saturday matinees.
Every evening and Saturday matinee at 2:30. Yeah. So
go check out Ghost on a Wire at the Union Theatre with my good pal, Mr. Fettis. But until then, until you go and do that, or until you join us next week, have a fantastic week, whatever you're doing.
Yes, please.
And Drew, I'll see you next time, mate.
Dan, I'll see you next time. Everyone, take care. Bye
bye. Later. Cheers.
Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.